This Republic CB seaplane kit by Glencoe is an old kit in itself and is probably a reboxing of another kit because Glencoe usually does that type of kit. I think it might have come from Lindbergh. The Republic CB is one of the many airplanes designed and built shortly after World War II to expect to satisfy huge growth in general aviation based on how many new pilots had been qualified during World War II. While there were more pilots, the trend did not in any way materialize as expected.
Let's take a look at the kit. You know, your first impression might be, well, there's nothing in the box. And the reason for that is the kit is actually molded in clear plastic. And the reason for that is the airplane has a very large greenhouse canopy, and it would be difficult to mold it such that it would all fit together nicely. So the solution by the maker was, well, we'll just make it out of clear plastic and you can paint the other parts. So here's a quick layout of the parts. Once again, it's mostly looking at my dirty workbench because they're clear. Here are the side view plans and the exploded view of the instructions. And if we flip it over, here are some paint schemes and other kits that Glencoe makes. Here are the decal sheets, and it's kind of interesting to me that one of the decals is a decal for all the windows, which they went to great lengths to make clear.
We start with the fuselage.
I've cleaned up the two halves of the fuselage, and they fit together fairly well. The model, as you can see, is really basic, as these really older kits are, and it has no interior. And when I put the parts together, there'll be no access to the inside, and you can see that there's considerable window area where hopefully, if I finish it well, you can see inside and see that there is no interior. But I'm just going to go with that. It's beyond me to do anything about it. Well, here we have our assembled ghost fuselage. It went together pretty well, but the seam between the two parts is pretty predominant all the way around, and could be treated with the normal, sanding and filling and smoothing over most of the length of the seam. But where it's part of the windshield, in fact, it actually goes right through the middle of the upper windshield glass panel. It's going to be very difficult to in any way sand it or fill it and not make it worse. So that's going to take some thought. I've completed assembling the fuselage and trying to minimize the seams. The seam across the top window is clearly going to remain. Hopefully I can minimize it in the future. I'm going to try and use the decals as templates to make masking tape patches to cover the windows next. Well, the masking is done, so now we're ready to assemble. Should be pretty quick because the parts are pretty much all whole. They don't need to be made from sub-assemblies.
So I primed it first.
So the aluminum painting seems to have come out pretty well. We'll now go for the painting details. The model is complete except for taking the masking tape off and seeing how bad that came out. Hopefully I'm pessimistic. I tried to install the decals that came with it, and I managed to install maybe half a dozen of the decals that were only a stripe, and all but 2 of them tore at least once before I got them on. So I'm afraid the decals are just so old that the ones that involve numbers and so forth would be impossible to install, at least for me. So I'm gonna get out my knife and my tweezers and start taking the masking tape off. As I feared, some aluminum paint managed to sneak under the masking tape. I managed to scrape most of it off with a sharpened toothpick, so it isn't real bad, but it certainly is not perfect. So this is the finished model.
If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Thanks a lot for watching.